Chapter 6 is a really important chapter. It is legal and ethical basis for practice. It's going to talk about the basic ethical and legal things that we talked about in 305, like fidelity and justice and autonomy and so forth. It's also going to talk about admissions and discharges. What types of admissions are there? Like voluntary and involuntary. What type of discharges are there? Is there just a flat out discharge to home? Is there a discharge to another facility or transfer? Is the discharge against medical advice AMA? If someone is admitted voluntarily, then they can sign a release and be discharged against medical advice, but not if it's involuntary. Also, sometimes discharges are contingent upon the patient following a follow-up appointment, or maybe there are certain criteria that they have to meet outpatient in order to stay outpatient. So you need to make sure that you understand those. Patient rights under the law and civil rights. Patients, just like in the medical setting, they have a right to informed consent. They have a right to refuse treatment. They have a right regarding restraint and seclusion. You just can't go around restraining people chemically or physically just because you want to, or because you're short-staffed, or you're retaliating against them for some type of behaviors towards you. So we have to make sure that we are understanding those concepts. Patient confidentiality, it is huge in the mental health setting, or with patients who have mental health issues. Also, you want to look at HIPAA, again, patients, employers, what do they have a right to know? What do they not have a right to know? What are the patient's rights after death? Duty to warn. This is going to be a big one, so you really do need to understand. For instance, if a patient makes a threat against another person, then probably the psychiatrist or the authorities are going to have to notify. So that is duty to warn. And also we have a duty to protect. So if we think somebody is in danger or in harm's way, then we have a duty to report. Otherwise, again, everything is confidential. But if it's going to hurt them or someone else, you do have a duty to report. And we can talk more about that if you have any additional questions. Child and elder abuse reporting is mandatory. You are required to report this, not an option. And that's on page 67. And then also I want you to look at tort law that's applied to psychiatric settings, and that's on page 68. It also will talk about negligence, malpractice, and what standards of care are. And then last but not least, it will talk about documentation and how you've got to document. And it's really important in all settings, but really, really important when we're talking about mental health. I told you before that I am still looking to be called in a case from previous years, and so I have to go by my documentation. I can't just recall all the details of something that happened. Just understand how important documentation is. Okay, so that's kind of like the highlights for chapter 6, but again, it is really, really important. This chapter is very, very important. Okay, so read. If you need more information, look it up or email me, or we'll talk about it in class.